Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We'll let everybody get settled in. Hopefully, you have all of your wines there, a glass, a wine opener, so we can do some tasting with our producers. But we will ask everybody to jump in. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Clink Different. Clink Different is a really fascinating concept. It's a campaign funded by the European Union, and it brings together great wineries and producers from Bordeaux and Germany. And I've been fortunate to host several of these now. They've always been really fascinating, really interesting. It sparks a lot of conversation and questions from the audience. And so we want to make this very, very interactive. And I have a little housekeeping to take care of at the beginning, and then I'll introduce our panels. But just know that we're happy that you're here, and we want to make it as interactive as possible. So we love your questions and comments throughout the presentation. So let's take care of a bit of housekeeping here from the start. This is first of all, it's being recorded. So just for your knowledge there, it's for training purposes. We want you to be on camera. So hopefully everybody's comfortable doing that. But we just want to make sure that you're aware that the presentation is being recorded. And we, like I said, really encourage your questions, your comments about the wines we're tasting, or any questions you might have for our producers today. So feel free to type those into the chat, and our panel will try to answer those questions throughout the presentation. Or, of course, just feel free to come off of mute, and whether you want to taste the wine live with the producer, or you have something that you'd like to discuss, please do so throughout. So maybe just to get the chat warmed up, if anybody is interested in maybe tasting the wine with a producer, maybe volunteer yourself right now in the chat, and we'll just get that chat warmed up right away with that question. I'd like to introduce our team of experts, our panel today. We're really fortunate to have four great producers from Germany and Bordeaux join us, especially given how busy it is towards the end of the harvest. Everything's very busy in the cellar right now. So we're very fortunate to have their time today. So first of all, we have Celine Lenoy from Celine Bordeaux. Celine, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome, Celine, and thank you for joining us. We also have from Weingut Rebholz, Stephanie Bayer. Stephanie, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. From Weingut Axel Nice, we have Jörg Egelin. Jörg, would you say hello?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Great, thank you, Jörg. And we also have Rachel Hubert from Chateau Pay Bonhomme Latour. Rachel, please say hello.
Hello.
Hello, Rachel. Okay, fantastic. So that's who we'll be interacting with today. We're going to taste a wine from each of these great producers, and hopefully it'll spark a lot of conversation. And just to get that sort of conversation going, I've selected some topics or themes that I think are relatable to everybody on the panel, but specifically I've paired one producer from Germany with one from Bordeaux to talk about these themes that I've selected. So with Celine and Stephanie, we will talk about legacy and innovation. I think that topic is very relevant to both producers. With Jörg and Rachel, I want to talk about keeping the freshness from both of those producers. We have their 2018s as quite a hot vintage in Europe. So I want to understand how they're keeping the freshness in these wines in those very warm vintages. And I thought towards the end, we might have a sort of group discussion about a path towards a sustainable future. And of course, we try to leave a little time towards the end for any remaining questions and answers. I also wanted to just say that we have just the four producers today. We oftentimes will have 6 wineries on these calls, but because of the timing of the harvest, we have just 4. We're very happy to have those 4, and we have a lot to discuss with these 4 wineries, but just wanted to explain that to the audience. Okay, so just to get our conversation going, I'd like to have this next session, the first 2 wines that we're going to taste together with Céline Lenoy and Stephanie Baer. I want to talk about this idea of legacy and innovation with those 2 producers. And since this is it's a virtual trip, you know, we'd like nothing more than to take all of you to Germany and all of you to Bordeaux to taste these wines. Since we can't do that, we're going to take you there virtually, and we're going to do that through Google Maps, and so we'll do our best to take you to these places. Hopefully, it feels like we're there tasting at the wineries. So let's locate the 4 wineries on the big map of France and Germany. Of course, our 2 producers, like most of the wine growing regions in Germany, are in the southwest of Germany. Both wineries are located in the region of the Pfalz, and so you can see them up there. So you know, I said southwest Germany, but we're pretty far north there in terms of wine growing in the northern hemisphere. And then from France, of course, our 2 wineries located in Bordeaux near the Atlantic, and we have one producer located in the Entre-deux-Mers, that's at Bordeaux Céline, and then we have Chateau Pays-Bonhomme Les Tours located in the region of Blaye. We'll have all of our producers explain a little bit more about their regions as we progress through the tasting. So just to zoom in here and find Céline Bordeaux, the winery is located in the Entre-deux-Mers region, of course, so you can see the city of Bordeaux there and the 2 rivers, the Dordogne and the Garonne. And specifically, we'll just zoom into this location. But this is the location of Céline Bordeaux near the Garonne River. And then there's Céline Bordeaux right there. And maybe quick glance at the cellar. I'm really happy we have a Cremant de Bordeaux to taste today. That's really exciting. And then to locate Weingut Rebholz, we'll need to zoom in here to first of all, to have a quick look at sort of this southwestern region of Germany. We can locate the city of Frankfurt and the Rhine River. And you can see we're in the region of the Pfalz here. These 2 wineries from Germany that we're tasting today are both located in the Pfalz, but you can see there's quite a distance between the 2 wineries, northern and southern Pfalz, and there's some big differences between these 2 areas. So we'll have our producers speak to that today. But to locate Weingut Rebholz in the southern part of the Pfalz in the village of Siebeldingen, there they are located. They're not really so far from the Alsatian border, and you can see the Hart Mountains there. So we'll have our producers speak a bit more about these locations. But here is Rebholz and the family, and just a quick look in the cellar. And I think with that, I want to jump over to Céline to have her speak to us about. Introduce yourself, first of all. Tell us a little bit about the wine that we're going to be tasting with you, and then we'll get to our topic. So I'll have you introduce yourself first. Céline.
So hello, everybody. So my name is Céline. So I'm a prayer in Bordeaux to find sparkling wine producers. We are only 9 to elaborate Cremant de Bordeaux. So my company is located in the Entre-deux-Mers region. So south, as you saw on the map, is southeast of Bordeaux. So we are producing sparkling wine using the traditional method, so with the second fermentation in the bottle. And today you're going to taste Opale, which is a Blanc de Blanc from the Entre-deux-Mers, made from Sémillon, Sauvignon, and Muscadel.
And Céline, I was really intrigued. There's actually a very high percentage of Muscadel in this wine, like something like 20% Muscadel.
Yes, it's a good thing in Bordeaux. It's when you do a Blanc de Blanc, we use white grapes that are quite some aromas. And Muscadel is quite a nice grape for sparkling, flavors of white flowers.
It really brings a lot of aroma to the wine. So that really stood out to me. But it's the Semillon is the main variety here?
Yes, Semillon is the main grape because Semillon is also one of the main white grapes grown in our region and give some roundness to the sparkling wine. So we use a lot of Semillon.
And then the minimum time on tirage or aging on the lees before disgorgement, I think is 12 months, correct?
It's 12 months, but we do 18 because we think that aging is really important when producing sparkling wine. So we always age 18 months instead of 12 as a minimum. And sometimes we age up to 36 months when we have some Blanc de Blanc with vintage like 2016 that we age for 36 months. So it depends on the brand that you have, but it's mainly it's 12 months minimum, but we do 18. And we age in underground galleries that were used to build the city of Bordeaux.
Oh wow, you're in caves of
Yes.
limestone, I suppose.
Yes, everything is aged in cave of limestone.
Interesting. And it says right on the neck label that you have been Cremant or sparkling wine producers since 1947. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, we started by doing a sparkling by adding gas to the bottle. Then we went through method traditional before going to Crémant because the appellation Crémant was born in 1990. So it's quite a young appellation. But we started way before to do sparkling wine, but we didn't.
Celine, we'll let the internet catch up to you there. If you're still
sparkling wine.
Oh,
we didn't do Crémant.
You're back.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Great,
I have a
excellent.
bad connection.
No, you're fine. We're following along, and it gives us a chance to taste the wine. And I guess what I really wanted to get at with my theme today of legacy and innovation. So many generations of your family has been focused on producing sparkling wines, Cremant de Bordeaux. You already mentioned at the beginning, the wines were made in a different way. And then with the introduction of Cremant de Bordeaux, they went to traditional method. So of course, that's a big change. But what other ways have the different generations in your family innovated at the estate?
In fact, I wanted to produce a qualitative sparkling wine. So what is always driving innovation is to try to do better. So to have a better wine. And that's how we started the adventure of doing sparkling wine. And now every year we produce a new wine and try to, it's a mix between keeping the tradition and also launching some new products to meet the demand of our clients.
Excellent. And by the way, Celine, Sarah O'Kelly says, very pretty, very delicious Cremant. Thank you. So I agree with her. It's very delicious. The note of Muscadel, it really comes through. It's really quite aromatic and a very, very delicious Cremant de Bordeaux. So thank you for that. I wanted to turn the discussion over to Stephanie Bayer from Weingut Okonomirat Rebholz. Stephanie, why is the name of the winery so long?
Yeah, I don't know why it's so long. And I think it's hard to say in English, Ökonomierat.
Well, tell me what does that mean?
It's a title that you get awarded, and the title is awarded for Eduard Rebholz. So he's the founder of the winery here. So he started basically to make wine, to sell the wine. and he always want to work very close to nature. And yeah, his philosophy was to work as close to nature as possible. And for his work, he get this title of Ökonomierat.
Very good. We, you know what? We're getting better at speaking German all the time, so I think we can handle it. Ökonomierat, Rebholz. The wine that we have from the winery today. First of all, I pointed out on the map how much distance there is between Weingut Neis and Rebholz. So this is a very southern part of the Pfalz. Maybe can you give us a picture or paint the idea of the region?
Yes, so we are on the southern part of the Pfalz. So the distance between our winery and the other one, I think it's around 60 kilometers. Yeah, and we here in this part of the Pfalz, we are very lucky because we have of a very small area, very different soils. So we have 5 different soils, and that's very interesting because every soil is different for the wine. And today we have this Pinot, and it's on Lösslame. It's also very special soil here. And yeah, I really like it because the smell is a little bit smoky inside. If you can smell it, it's a little bit of smoke, and that's from the soil.
Yeah, it definitely gives the impression that it's coming from like something that's calcareous. I suppose Luss has some calcareous in it. Luss, by the way, it's a soil that's very soft. It's usually you can actually kind of break it with your hands. It's a great soil for white varieties.
Yeah, it is. And most of our varieties we have here, so we have a lot of Riesling. It's the basic variety or the most famous variety. We farm 25 hectares in total and 40% of Riesling, but we have more than 15% of Pinots. So that's also very special here in the southern part that we have a lot of different Pinot varieties here.
Yeah, and for sure. And I know you have Pinot Noir, and tell us about the importance of Weißburgunder or Pinot Blanc, because here in the States, like in California, it's Pinot Blanc is not so widely grown, but there it's very important. It's an important variety for the region.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry. Yes, it is very important here for this region because it's very typical. And for the different soils, you can see how different Pinot Blanc or Weißburgunder can be. So if you have different soils, you have totally different types of Weißburgunder here. And that's very, very interesting.
Celine, if you're still there, I wanted to, I think I didn't ask you about soil, but in the Entre-deux-Mers, you usually have some limestone soils, sometimes clay. And can you just tell us the white varieties, the Semillon, the Muscadel, Sauvignon, are these mainly grown on limestone?
They're mainly grown on limestone, clay and limestone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is these calcareous soils, like in the Pfalz, like where Rebholz is located, very, very important, very typical for white varieties. Stephanie, can you tell us a bit about the generational changes that have been happening at Rebholz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment we have this generation change. We have the third and fourth generation at the moment. So Hans-Jörg and Birgit Rebholz and their sons, Hans and Valentin. So both of them, they studied viticulture and ethnology in Germany, and they are finished since 3 years. And after university, they start to work here in the winery, and they now are responsible for the work in the cellar and also in the vineyard. And you have this difference between these 2 generations. Yeah, but yeah, at the moment they are responsible for all of these, and Hans-Jörg, he's more than the consulting part of it. So he's still here, he works and he gives the boys tips and say how they can do it. But yeah, they just decide how to do it.
Well, and this is kind of part of my overall theme today is, can you tell us about this this shift towards biodynamics at the winery, and what generation really embraced that? Was it Hans-Jörg?
Yes, it was, but I told you earlier because of the title Ökonomierat. So since the beginning of the winery, they start to work very close to nature. Also, Eduard, he never used sugaring or any additions. And that's the philosophy, how we work here in the winery since the beginning. Also the boys, so Hans and Valentin, they are really patient about this biodynamic working or kind of working here in the vineyards, and they love it and they do it with a passion. And yeah, they know that we are just guests here on this planet and we have to use it as a guest. And so
Well, sort of a related topic here is Sophia and Ken wanted to ask you about the climate of the particular part of the Pfalz that you're in. So are we talking about a fairly warm and sunny climate compared to northern Pfalz or the rest of Germany?
Yeah, I think we have a little bit more sun than the northern part of the Pfalz or Germany, but we are still a very cool climate area here.
Okay, got it. The Weissburgunder that we're tasting is fantastic. I definitely pick up on the smoky note of the wine. There's also some great salinity to the wine, some saltiness. Pinot Blanc or Weissburgunder, like I said, not something we plant so much like in California, for example, but I think in this part of Europe, very important variety and a great wine as a result. So, and Sarah has, she just wanted to mention that she uses the Weissburgunder at a consumer tasting last week and people loved it. So thanks for that feedback, Sarah. Great.
Thank you.
Well, this is a great way to kick off our tasting today, tasting these first two wines. So Celine and Stephanie, thank you. We'll come back to you in a little while to talk about maybe some of the talk a little bit more about sustainability into the future. But I wanted to introduce our next two wineries so we can start tasting the next two wines. So let me jump back to my presentation here. And by the way, if you wanted to know the technical details of the two wines that we just tasted, Celine told us, and I wasn't 100% sure, but she said that it was on limestone soils. That's very, very typical, I think, of white varieties in the Entre-deux-Mers, so limestone mixed with clay. But we talked about the cepage and having that very high percentage of muscadel. For me, that really came through in 18 months on the lees before disgorgement. And with the Weissburgunder that we just tasted from Stephanie on Lus Loam soils in that sunny, warm part of the southern Pfalz, all done in stainless steel. So let's introduce our next two wineries. I wanted to have Georg Egeling and Rachel Hubert talk about keeping the freshness. The reason I picked this theme for these next two wineries is that they're both from the 2018 vintage, which is quite a warm vintage, quite hot actually. And but you'll see that both of these wines have great freshness, acidity, aromatic precision. And I just wanted to speak to them about how they're accomplishing that. So let's locate the two wineries, starting with Weingut Nice. And we are also in the Pfalz with this winery, but as you'll see on this next map, if you can find on their Florsheim-Delsheim, that's quite a famous village, or Molsheim, quite a famous village of the Rheinhessen. So we're quite far north in the Pfalz here. And I'm assuming a very different climate and soil and terroir. We'll have to have Georg tell us about that. But here's the very modern winery located there in Kindenheim. And just a beautiful picture of the faults there from Weingut Nice. Okay, then let's locate our producer from Bordeaux. This is Chateau Pays-Bonhomme Les Tours. So this is actually in this more northern part of the right bank in an appellation called Blaye. And this is a fascinating area. It's quite an old part of Bordeaux. I'd love it if Rachel could tell us a bit of the history here, but this is a much older region than the Médoc area. They've been growing grapes here, I think, at least since Roman times. So it's a very historic and important area in Bordeaux. And there's a quick picture of the chateau in Blaye. And just I really want to talk about this also, Rachel. So we have a lot to discuss here. We've got amphora, which I am not used to seeing in Bordeaux really at all. So we'll get to the philosophy of these two wineries and what they're working on in the cellar. But let's maybe hand the baton over to Jörg Eggeling from Weingut Nice to introduce yourself, introduce the winery and the wine that we're tasting with you today.
Yeah, hello everybody. So yeah, my name is Jörg Eggeling, and actually I'm working not directly for the wine estate Nice, but for the export company who exports. We exporting their wines worldwide in over 30 countries, and so I represent them today. And we will have a taste on the Blanc de Noir 2018, and it's 100% Pinot Noir Blanc de Noir, and yeah. The wine estate is run by Axel Nice now in the fifth and sixth, so with his children in the fifth and sixth generation, and there was a conversion in 1957 from an agricultural business to only run winery business, and he took over from his parents in 1997. And the vines are up to 40 years and even older. So yeah, the soil is mainly limestone in the Kindenheim area, and the village is, as you said, in the high north of the Pfalz and high above the Rhine plateau. So the river Rhine is nearby, but it's high above it, and it's a cool climate. Really more cool climate than in at the place of Ökonomierat, Repolz.
Can you tell us about how this wine was produced? So, first of all, are the grapes grown specifically to produce this style of wine, or is this more like what we would say in French a saignée style? What is the style of rosé here?
Yes, it's produced by a saignée style. And the grapes, so we have an estate level wine. So you have to imagine it's like a pyramid. So the estate levels are the bottom, the base of the wine estate. And the grapes come from Kindenheim and also Bockenheim, which is a village nearby, and are they harvested over there, and the wine is produced via saignée, right? So nearly no skin contact and only no pressure on the grapes. Yeah.
Okay. So a very short maceration on the skins that explains the sort of pale. Almost like a salmon color is how it appears to me. So very short maceration on the skins, saignée style, and then all in stainless steel tanks.
Correct.
Great. Well, let's get to my the thing I'm dying to ask you is that this wine has great acidity, great aroma, very fresh on the palate. How 2018 was quite hot in Europe. I know it was in Germany. So can you tell us about things that maybe the winery is doing to keep this acidity and freshness in the wines in a hot vintage like that?
Yeah, as you said, the vintage 2018 was really, really hot, and so was 19 and 20 as well. The location of Kindenheim is very special, quite special, because it's the vineyards are exposed to the west winds, and so if there is rainfall, the grapes dry even faster because of the winds, and so the grapes stay very, very healthy throughout the year. And in 18, the harvest already began mid-August. That's really, really early. And so they always go into the vineyards and look whether the grapes are ready or not for the harvest. And you have the special thing about this wine is very light. It's very clear, very pure, and you have a nice minerality from the limestone soil, from the limestone terroir, and a bit more of acidity in it, but moderate alcohol. So you don't have those usually opulent alcohol levels like 13-14%, but only 12.5% of alcohol.
I was just trying to find the alcohol on the label, because it does not hit me as very high. So it's just, did you say 12.5%?
12.5, yes.
Impressive. Yeah. I mean, it's really got this beautiful aroma. It's the beautiful strawberries and floral notes come through. It's vibrant. It's sort of high toned. Yeah. And then on the palate, the acidity keeps it very lively and fresh. So thank you for that.
Very uncomplicated wine.
Uncomplicated, but delicious. The kind of thing I could easily drink the whole bottle. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's like an everyday wine, but you can't force people to drink that wine every day.
I don't think you have to force us. Okay, thank you for that, Georg. Rachel, I wanted to, the same thing, ask you to introduce yourself, the winery, and tell us about the wine that we're tasting.
Yes. So nice to meet you, everyone. So I'm Rachel Hubert from Château Pébonhomme-les-Tours. So in Blaye-Côte de Bordeaux, we are in the right bank of the Gironde estuary. It's a family winery. I'm the daughter. I work with my my brother, and we manage 50 hectares in certified organic and biodynamic for 20 years now. So it's a very hilly landscape, clay and limestone. So Pébonhomme, it's a very old winery. The building date of the 17th century. And I'm the 5th generation of wine grower here. Pébonhomme-les-Tours, the red, it's the 18. It's mainly Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Malbec. 10% of Malbec. It's the main wine of the domain. It's aged, it's fermenting and aging only in concrete vats. We don't use oak barrels to have this drinkable wine and freshness, naturally tannic, structure tannic from the Cabernet Franc and the spicy taste of the Malbec, I think. I don't know.
There's a few things that sort of come to mind when I'm tasting your wine. First of all, it's mostly Merlot, and Merlot has a tendency to, when it's ripening, have a lot of sugar, therefore can be very alcoholic. This doesn't strike me as a lot of alcohol. It says 14.2 on the label, but it doesn't really feel that way.
No.
the other thing about the cepage is you said there's 10% Malbec.
Yes. We have now 20% of Malbec in totality in the domain. We plant the Malbec on the top of the hill, in the in the limestone, very limestone hill, and with climate change, the global changing, the Malbec it's better now. For the ripeness of the Malbec is very good. It's our best tank now. Our best vines, yes, Malbec.
That, Rachel, that's exactly what I was sort of driving at with my question. Is that you know, the neighboring appellation to you is Bourg, and they have a tradition of planting Malbec in that area. But the Malbec seems to be coming back a little bit because it was in decline. But now with maybe a warming climate, we're seeing it come back, and it seems to be what you're saying with your estate.
Yes, a lot. We make cuvée with only Malbec now. We make other wines with Malbec and Cabernet Franc also. We plant Cabernet Franc also, and we blend in the amphora. We put a lot of Malbec because it's a very powerful variety, and we have to put in amphoras very powerful, puissant wine before the aging in the amphoras. We have planted also some Syrah here, some Syrah and some Touriga Nacional to prevent, in anticipation of the global the climate change. So we have to adapt the vines from the wineries. Yes.
I wasn't even aware that Syrah was even allowed. I did hear about Touriga Nacional.
In the future,
that's very interesting.
Yes, it's only experimentation.
Yeah. So I think all of these, everything we're discussing right now, it relates to this topic I wanted to ask you about, is how, in a hot vintage like 2018, did you manage such a fresh and elegant wine?
Yes, I think it's not only in this vintage. I think this freshness, the biodynamic way give this freshness. I think this culture, gives this freshness in all our wines, and we make also short maceration. We make the racking very early. To have only the best juice, not the tannins too dry, so to have this roundness and this freshness, we make very short maceration. No oak. No oak.
Yeah. There's a very interesting question from Joshua, and he's asking if you're increasing Malbec and you're experimenting with Syrah, Touriga Nacional, are you decreasing other varieties?
The Merlot, we don't plant. We don't think the Merlot. The Merlot is the king of our region. A lot of Merlot, and we don't plant Merlot now. It's not the future. We think we have two the degrees, 18, 19, 20. We have very high degrees, and the Merlot don't support very well the high temperature, very high temperature. So yes,
right.
because
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what's been on my mind. I keep thinking about that. The same question that Joshua had, I've been thinking about is, what about Merlot when it's, you know, when it's, we continue to have these really hot vintages. And Joshua has a follow-up question. Do you have any pushback from the community, your neighbors, or do other winemakers agree that this is the right way forward?
I don't know what they think. I don't know. Other winemakers, other wine growers are tasting, are trying other varieties. Some wine growers are trying very old varieties like Carmenère, Castex, but it's other ways. We have to try. We have to try. I think it's our job also.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you haven't all sort of pieced it together, this kind of brings me to my final sort of topic I wanted to discuss with everyone. It's really about sustainability for the future. It's really one of the things that we are talking about a lot as a wine industry, and just wanted to hear maybe from all the producers things that they might be doing at the winery to so that we can continue to enjoy great wines like this into the future. So let me just introduce this final topic. We'll maybe jump back and forth between our producers and just get their thoughts on these on this idea. But just for our last two wines, so you have all the technical information from Weingut Nice. We had 100% Spätburgunder from limestone soils, with a very brief maceration on the skins, all in stainless steel. Even though 2018 vintage was a very hot vintage in both Germany and Bordeaux, I thought that wine had great freshness and elegance to it. A wine that, like I said, I could drink the whole bottle easily. I could maybe say the same thing about Chateau Pays Bonhomme Les Tours, the wine from Blaye. Also the hot 2018 vintage, 75% Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Malbec on limestone soils, and no oak there at all. So that's part of the reason we found that wine so fresh and elegant. So this is the final topic I wanted to just discuss with all the producers today. What is the path forward to a sustainable future? Of course, this is on my mind because I've only known one industry in my entire career. It's the wine business. So I want the wine business to continue to produce elegant, fresh wines that we want to drink well into the future. I think probably all of us are thinking about this topic. So maybe Celine, are there some things that are changes or things that you're thinking about at the winery to have more sustainability for the future?
I think we talk about the vineyards part and what needs to be done in the vineyards. I will say there is also some work to do in the facility where we are producing, to also use less water, to try to use some new energy, and to in fact have a low consumption of energy. So it's in many different ways, not only in the vineyard. I would say it's a global way of thinking how to work and how to change the future.
Yes, exactly. And same question to you, Stephanie. Of course, we were talking about biodynamics, how Hans-Jörg was sort of a leader in this field, but what other things are you thinking about at the winery?
Yeah, I mean, we can start in the vineyard to work without herbicides, without synthetic fungicides, and just to need or to work with organic materials. But yeah, it's not the only thing. I think it's a very big part, and there are more points and steps to go to work for sustainability. And yeah, it's very hard. There are also in the sales things that you can do better to work with it. Yeah, use less water in the cellar, and yeah, work just with organic materials.
Yes, exactly. Georg, I noticed on Weingut Nice's website sustainability certification. So this is also something they're thinking about at Weingut Nice.
Yeah, that's correct. They really do a lot of brainstorming on how they can give nature back something for what they take from nature in form of wine, right? So they are a founding member of Fair and Green. That's an organization that's not only focusing on growing wine organic and producing it organic, but it's also all levels of production, either employees or the cellar or in the vineyard. It's about the whole picture, and it's since the newest milestone they have taken is in September this year. They have been certified climate neutral winery as one of the first in Germany, I guess. So, but this is really hard work and a lot of work to do. And Axel told me what they have to manage for this certification. It's really a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and I know that the more you work, and Rachel can probably speak to this, but the more you go in this organic biodynamic way, the more labor that you need. It's a big cost to the winery, but also even just these days finding the labor is also a challenge. But Rachel, I'll hand it over to you to get your thoughts on this idea.
Yes. Here our goal is produce very high quality wines, but with the totally respect of the nature. And I think we are not only farmers, wine growers. We are also guardian of the guard. We are guard of the nature and of our landscape. We have to protect this landscape, and for that we use biodynamic practice, but also we plant a lot of trees. It's a philosophy. It's a philosophy of life. We live on the domain with all the family, and we have to protect this landscape and the fauna and the flora. The diversity is very important to have these wines. We are looking for the purity in the wines, and for that we have to have this big biodiversity in the vines.
Yes, exactly. And this question from Andrew just came in. It's there seems to be a great deal of talk about earlier harvest. Has there been a change at the beginning of the cycle as well? He's talking about flowering and the maturation during the growing season. I'm sure all of our producers could weigh in on this. I don't know who wants to tackle this first. Rachel, are you picking earlier by almost every vintage now?
Not this year. This year, in 2021, it's very different. It's not like 18, 19 or 20 where we harvest very, very early, but this year not. No. It's for that we are looking for other grapes, tardif grapes to make harvest with not too ripe. Yes.
And Stephanie, is the beginning of the growing cycle earlier? Is it happening earlier in your region?
Yes, especially for the last 3 years, they were very hot and also in the beginning of spring. So the flowering starts very early the last 3 years. Yeah, but you see that there's a difference for the climate change. I mean, the last 3 years were totally hot. This year was not too hot, but we had a lot of rain. The spring was, and also the summer, so much rain. It was unbelievable how much it was. And I mean, there's a difference between of these extremes. So 1 year is very hot, the other one is very rainy. And yeah, that's a sign that there's a change of it.
Yes, and Celine, what you typed in the chat there, exactly, maybe just speak to that.
Yes, so as Stephanie said, we have, I mean, flowers is coming much earlier than years ago, so it's getting warmer earlier, and then we have episode of frost later in Easter, and that's when we're losing most of the grapes. It's due to frost, so we have to readapt how we do the pruning in the vineyards in order to avoid these episodes of frost, of late frost, that are really damaging to the wine production.
Yes, and Georg, it wasn't so much in the Pfalz region, but of course we know not only are wine growers dealing with frost and other effects of climate change, but another one is this horrible flooding that happened in the Aar. So we saw a great, we're really small vintage in Bordeaux. So we are really seeing the effects of the climate change. And Georg, I didn't mean to answer the question for you, but
this was exactly what I wanted to say. I mean, the tragedy in the Aar Valley was one kind of slap in the face of the vintners who grow their wines over there, and it was the biggest sign that there's happening something really, really big, and we just can do our best to avoid those things in the future. It's tragic.
Yeah. But we are still managing to produce beautiful, beautiful wines, even in hot vintages like 2018. And just really the entire lineup of wines today was really fantastic. So I think we've managed to get to most of the questions that have come up in the chat. We really appreciate your participation. We'll be happy to answer any final questions if they come up. But maybe at this point, I need to say thank you to, first of all, thank you to the audience for taking the time to taste these wines today with us. We hope you enjoyed the wines and the experience of interacting with the producers. And then, of course, given how busy it is in the vineyard and in the cellar this time of year, I need to say a special thanks to our 4 producers who joined us today. So Celine, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Thank you, Stephanie from Repos. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Georg, Eileen, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me here.
And Rachel Hubert, thank you so much for the beautiful wine and for taking the time.
Thank you very much to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to all. Mostly what I see in the chat is a thank you. So I think we've answered all the questions. We really appreciate your participation today in Clink Different. You will probably receive a survey, and please fill it out so we know how to make these presentations better in the future. So with that, I will say goodbye to all. Au revoir. And auf Wiedersehen and goodbye. Cheers.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir.